and number 2 is melting. These are the two processes that becomes responsible for the movement of a glacier. And this you all know possibly. This is a longitudinal profile of a glacier. So this is zone of accumulation and this is zone of ablation. This point is called equilibrium point. Equilibrium point. And the glacier moves by means of its internal deformation, which is actually a pseudoplastic deformation, pseudoplastic deformation. Why this pseudoplastic deformation happens? It is because of the depth of glacier and the ductility that is formed because of the overburden pressure. So the depth of the glacier and the ductility that it provides because of the. Now tell me, ice is a rock. Ice is a rock. Is ice a rock?
No, sir.
So what is ice? It's a mineral. Huh? Anyone can tell ice is a rock or mineral? Ice is a rock and it is made up of a number of, it is a monomineralic rock. It is a monomineralic rock. Okay? Okay? So, because it is not made up of a single mineral, but it is, each one is a crystal. And it is a naturally occurring crystal, ice crystal. Naturally occurring, so if I go by the definition of a mineral, that any naturally occurring crystallographic substance which has a uniform composition, and that is what is a mineral. Am I correct or wrong?
Yes.
Yes. So by that definition, each crystal of the ice is a mineral or not?
Yes.
It justifies that definition, na? It is a naturally occurring and its composition is uniform, H2O. So it is a mineral. If I go by the definition of mineral, and a number of ice crystal, they basically form the ice sheet. So ice is a rock. Now, what kind of rock? Ice is a igneous rock, sedimentary rock, or metamorphic rock? If I say that ice is a rock, then what rock it is? Igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic? कुछ बोलो यार, कुछ बोलो.
Sedimentary.
किताब पढ़ रहे हो कि नहीं पढ़ रहे? Reading the books or not reading book? फिलपर्ट्स के किताब पढ़े हो? इग्नियस हो गया है कोर्स?
यस सर, हो गया.
तो फिलपर्ट्स का किताब पढ़े हो कि नहीं पढ़े हो?
सर जेडी इंटर पढ़ा.
अरे जेडी इंटर तो आज से 50 साल पहले पढ़ा जाता था. फिलपर्ट्स का नाम सुने हो? फिलपर्ट्स का किताब का?
यस सर.
Yes.
पढ़ो यार. कैसे क्वालिफाई करोगे नेट वगैरह? थोड़ा सा अपने से पढ़ लो. डोंट गो बाय द मिनरोलॉजी कोर्स हो गया है.
यस सर.
Yes, sir.
कौन सी किताब पढ़े हो?
पुटनीस पढ़े हैं सर।
पुटनिस पढ़े हो? ठीक, गुड। नहीं, मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि अभी नेट क्वालिफाई करना है, फिर आगे जॉब का एग्जाम देना है। फंडामेंटल क्लियर करो। फंडामेंटल क्लियर नहीं होने से बहुत मुश्किल होगा, बहुत मुश्किल होगा। आइस, let me answer it. Ice is a metamorphic rock. Ice is a metamorphic rock. Okay? And if you see metamorphic rock का क्या, what are the criteria we see in a metamorphic rock? Metamorphic rock में हम लोगों को ट्रिपल पॉइंट जंक्शन दिखाई देता है ना? क्वार्टजाइट जब देखोगे अंडर माइक्रोस्कोप तब ट्रिपल पॉइंट जंक्शन आता है ना?
Yes, sir.
Exactly, ice में भी ट्रिपल पॉइंट जंक्शन, triple point junction. And why ice? Because ice, when it first forms, it forms as snow, which has lot of air bubble within it. It is fluffy and lot of air bubble within it. Then as it gets buried, it becomes flaky. And the air bubbles that go out and the ice recrystallize to the flaky crystals, which is called neve. If you further bury that neve, then the recrystallization, within that recrystallization, it becomes a triple point junction, and then you get the formation of ice. So there is a definite changeover from the snow to ice, and that's why ice is a metamorphic rock. It doesn't form on initially, but there is a change from the snow to ice by the removal of air trapped within it and the recrystallization of the crystal from the amorphous snow. It then becomes the flaky neve and then becomes the granular ice. So it is a change from amorphous to flaky to granular. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But definitely the refrigeration, जो deep fridge का ice is not a rock. Will it be rock? नहीं ना, because it is not naturally formed. Is it naturally formed?
No sir.
No, sir.
So if somebody asks you in an interview, will refrigerator ice is a rock? Then you will say, no, it is not rock. Then why not rock? Because it is not naturally forming. But glacier ice is a rock, and that is a metamorphic rock. Okay? Fine. Now, this is why I have discussed this. I was discussing the cold glacier, and cold glacier may the internal deformation. Now coming on to the polythermal glacier. Now what is polythermal glacier? That where these glaciers form in some area where there is a temperature change. Now in polythermal glacier, it is not the sub-zero temperature, but it is not also that temperature which can cause the melting of glacier. वो भी नहीं है. So what I am saying, that neither the situation is that the glacier is melting directly. That much high temperature is not there, nor the situation is that the glacier is not melting at all. So what happens, that it is such a temperature where some other factor, if it comes, then the glacier gets melt. Now what is that factor? That is the depth of the glacier. Now depending on the depth of the glacier, at certain level there becomes the pressure melting. Now this pressure melting, why it happens? That because the temperature is not so low like cold glacier, that there is no pressure melting. The temperature is neither as high that the temperature itself can melt, but it is such a temperature. Normally this type of glacier is in the temperate zone glacier. Normally the temperature is such that if you can invite some other force, then it can cause a glacier melting, and that force is called pressure melting. It is because of the depth of the glacier that the melting temperature arises at certain depth, and that when the melting happens, then the surge, the glacial surge आता है, when the glacier suddenly starts the first movement, that is the surge that comes. These are the called polythermal glacier, where the pressure melting comes into operation. And the third one, that is the temperate glacier. Temperate glacier is those glacier, suppose the Himalayan glacier. So these are in such a temperature that the melting normally occurs because of the temperature. And because of the melting, the glacier always has a higher velocity, and it can carry a large amount of sediment, and the sediment supply, sediment carriage by the glaciers become very high. Where the sediment carriage in cold glacier remain very low, the temperate glacier can carry large amount of sediment because of the normal melting of the relatively higher temperature and the carriage of the sediment. So this is the difference between the cold and the temperate glacier. Is it okay? Any question? Okay. Okay. Now, what is the deposit of a glacier? Now, the most important, the deposit of a glacier. I am just cleaning the board and then again discuss. This is a cross section of a glacial valley and the product of glacier that is shown in forms of moraine. Now, what is moraine? Moraine is actually the product, the sedimentary product of glacier. Now, how the glacier, have you drawn it? Once you draw it, please let me know.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So glacier actually carry sediment in three ways. One, above the glacier surface, that is called supraglacial. Within the glacier itself, that is called englacial. And at the base of the glacier, which is called subglacial. So supraglacial, englacial, and subglacial. And now, this sediment, they may be accumulated along the medial portion of the glacial valley. Then you call it medial moraine. It can be along the bottom, you call it the ground moraine, or it can be in the lateral, that is the lateral moraine. Now, these moraines, they may be either directly a product of the ice, directly product of the ice itself, or they are product of ice melt. Product of ice and ice melt. Now, what will happen when the moraine is actually product of ice? That there is no melting. It is only the product of ice and ice movement. Now, what happens in case of a polythermal or a temperate glacier? Because it gets melted at times. And when it melts, it basically carry very coarse grain, boulder, pebble, cobble. They are carried along the base of the glacier. And because those things are carried at the base of the glacier, they make striation on the surface on which the glacier moves. Striation on the surface.
Yes, sir.
And what are the, in the Earth history, what are the major times of the glacier action? What are the major times of the glacier action in the Earth history? If I think of that, the major times for the Earth history when there is a major phases of glaciation. Okay. Now, number one is late Precambrian. Ordovician. Number three, Carboniferous Permian. ये जो हम लोगों का जो गोंडवाना ग्लेशिएशन, तालचीर ग्लेशिएशन, that is in the Carboniferous Permian, isn't it? Fourth, that is the Pleistocene glaciation. Pleistocene, जिसमें जो last glacial maxima ये सब आता है. So these are the major time in the Earth history when you get the glaciation. How we identify that there is glaciation? Oh, ice तो अभी है नहीं. That ice is not there. But in the rock record, we find that there is glaciation. One major criteria, as a product of glacier is there, you can have the original, which in the rock record we call it diamictite or tillite, a moraine. When it is lithified and in the rock record, then you call it tillite. What I am saying? Whatever the moraine is a recent. What I am discussing, that is a moraine. Now this is preserved in the rock record, then you call it diamictite or tillite. We also call it till. That is in the rock record. Okay? And hey, it is there. And then you also, this feature that the striated surface, that is also considered as an indicator that there was action of glacier. Okay? Now, please. Hello? Any question?
No, sir, that is fine.
Okay. Now, as I discussed, there are two different products. One is an ice product, the product of ice itself. Another is an ice melt product, ice melt product. Now, when you have the ice melt product, you get the three types of ice melt product. One is a number one, ice melt का बात कर रहा हूँ. One is a flotil. Number two, lodgement till. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And number three, flotil, lodgement till, and I am forgetting the name. Anyway, I will tell you the name. What is that? But the process I am telling you. Flotil is that when you have the till, it is reworked by stream. Reworked by stream. Lodgement till is that when the till gets stratified. And the third process, what I am just forgetting the name, I will tell you the name, when it is in the form of debris flow. You are by debris flow. So this is what I is the ice melt till. Ice melt till. That means ice is melting, and that is either it is reworked by stream, that is forming by melt. It can be stratified by means of the stream flow and the movement of the bed form. So bed form movement makes it stratified, and or it may be in the form of the sediment gravity flow like debris flow. This is, and what about the ice deposit itself? This is the ice melt ki hote. What about the ice deposit? Ice deposit is what will be the character of the ice deposit, and the ice deposited moraine. What is that? Ice. How I identify that it is a ice melt deposit or a ice deposit? A ice deposit that will be highly unsorted. Number two, angular clast, highly and unstratified. No stratification you can find. No unstratified. Angular clast and unstratified. And number three, which is very important, that they will be bimodal in grain size distribution. That means this ice deposit, the moraine, it will have boulder, cobble, pebble, and the matrix is by sand, silt, and clay. So all are mixed. It is the boulder, pebble, cobble, within that pebble will be of high concentration, boulder and cobble relatively lower concentration, and the matrix is by sand, silt, and clay. So then the bimodal distribution that will, but this bimodal distribution you will not get in the ice melt deposit, because here the water is coming into play, and water coming into play, it is causing the bed form to be movement, it is causing the sorting of the grains, because as the water comes into play, the water will cause the grain size sorting. So the bimodality will be lost with time. Am I clear? How you differentiate between the angularity of the clast, that will be lower, clast will be more rounded, then the deposit will be stratified at times. So all these are indicator of the ice melt deposit, not the proper ice deposit. Is it clear or it requires further description?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, a glacier, it can melt, it can give, what happens that if the zone of ablation that is higher than the zone of accumulation, then the glacier recedes and the glacier melts. So when a glacier melts, so it generates a stream system, which we call the outwash plain. And ahead of the glacier, this plain is called proglacial deposit. Proglacial deposit. So what is a proglacial deposit? When the glacier is basically melting and it is giving way to a outwash plain, which is occupied by the streams and basically fed by the glacier melt water. And streams are mostly the braided in character, and they form the outwash plain. That outwash plain we commonly refer to as the proglacial deposit. So proglacial, and ahead of proglacial we get the periglacial deposit. draw the figure and then let me know if you have completed. So in today exam, I believe only how many have not given exam? Only 2, isn't it? I got one somebody who has been infected by corona, and another who has gone for vaccination possibly. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Only 2 have not given exam, na?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, in total we are 44.
Your total strength is 44.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll see that how many. Is it drawn? Have you drawn it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this, actually, an attempt has been made to show you that how is a glacial valley. How is a glacial valley? Now this is actually a valley glacier, and you can see that these if you take a cross section, it will show a U shape. U shape. Whereas a fluvial valley show V shape, a glacial valley will show U shape. So it is a U shape valley, and then it is making a outwash plain. The outwash plain, the deposit either it is like forming a kind of the unstratified deposit, forming a small hillock or type of thing that you call the keme, or when the keme they form along the terrace, we call it kem terrace. So it is a kem and kem terrace. If the kem is formed along the terrace, you call it kem terrace, or if the kem is not formed along the terrace, but it is a deposit in the form of small hillock kind of thing, then you call it a kem. Escarts are elongated. Escarts are elongated, and they are elongated ridges. Elongated ridges, they are called escarts. So kem and escart, they are formed in the outwash plain, either in the form of small rounded deposit in the form of hillocks or as a linear ridges. At the end of it, either it is a lacustrine system or a open marine system. Now, at the end of it, the moraine that is formed, that is called the terminal moraine. I have already discussed the medial moraine, lateral moraine, ground moraine, and now what you are seeing is the terminal moraine. Terminal moraine is at the end of the glacier, that the end of the proglacier and the periglacier. There you get the terminal moraine. Now, this, if the ice sheet is spreaded up to it, and then it is coming in the contact of the or marine system, then the portion of the ice sheets, they may be detached, which are called iceberg, So, which is very common in the Antarctic, where the ocean system and the glacial system, they are in contact, and the part of the glacier, they get fragmented and floats into the iceberg. Now, this is an iceberg that has been shown, and the iceberg floats in the ocean and it carries the sediment above it, large scale sediment. Now, once this ice of the iceberg, it melts, this sediment drops into the ocean surface, sediment surface. So this dropping of the sediment on the ocean surface, that forms the drop stone. You must have heard about the drop stone, which is a typical character of the glacial action. Have you heard it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is how drop stone forms. That it carries the sediment, and then with time this glacier melts and the sediment drops onto the surface. So this sediment will be totally mismatched with the sediment which is depositing in the shelf area. And in the shelf, that is the fine grained sediment is deposited, you can have a pebble directly dropped onto the fine grained sediment, and that is what we call the drop stone, which is a typical character of a glacial deposit. Okay. Now, in the ancient rock record, the glacier deposit, that is, we know that we call it diamictite or tillite. Now, diamictite and tillite, how we basically identify diamictite and tillite? They are unsorted, poorly sorted, angular clast, and within the clast you may have the faceted clast. Faceted, what we call the faceted. What is faceted? That any pebble, that pebble, some portion that is smoothened by means of the glacial action, we call it faceted. Faceted pebbles. So a diamictite is matrix rich, whereas a tillite is a clast rich. You will see sometimes people refer it as a diamictite, sometimes as a tillite. It all depends upon the whether it is a matrix rich or a clast rich. Now, in case of matrix rich, you can have silt and clay, and clast rich, you can have pebble, cobble, coarse sand. The typical character of both is unsorted and angular clast with some faceted clast, or with some faceted clast. So this is basically the character of the diamictite and tillite, what we get in the rock record. Sometimes what you find that the tillites, they are stratified, and some stratified means you may get that all this character of the tillite, but they are cross stratified, they are trap cross stratified, ripple laminated. That means the stream action that has reworked the glacial action. Stream action has reworked the. If it is unstratified, you are not getting any stratification, suppose cross stratification, trap cross stratification, plain lamination, no stratification. It is only a massive body and there is no stratification, then you only identify it as a diameter. Or if you have the stratification, then you identify it as the stratified tillite, and then all the interpretations that how it is stratified, what kind of energy that has been acted upon, what was the character of the glacier melting and the stream interaction, all this come into place, that how the interpretation can be done. Okay, so this is what I thought of the discussing the glacier. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me that any specific question about glacier. Otherwise, we will start the practical class now.
So can you differentiate proglacial and periglacial once again?
Proglacial is just after the glacier, when the melting starts and the fast stream system that generates from the glacier, that is called proglacial. And ahead, further away from the proglacial, that means not directly in contact with the glacial, that we define as a periglacial. So when you can make a relation that it is the first sediment, that there is an unstratified to crude stratified nature that is being formed, the first order streams that is being formed, then you identify it as a proglacial. But when you identify it is the well stratified, the large scale bed form that is formed and the stream action is quite prevalent, then you call it a periglacial.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So may we start the practical class?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I have a doubt in alluvial fan. Sir, एक छोटा doubt था.
बोलो.
Sir, you made the diagram of the alluvial fan. फिर आपने cross section बनाया था AB and CD और बताया था एक में convex profile होती है और एक में concave. सर आप एक बार वो वाला चीज फिर से बता सकते हैं?
हाँ, बताता हूँ. So this is a physiographic high and you have the stream system, that is basically. Now what happens really, the stream system, it makes its main deposition in the central part of this fan, central part. And as you go away from the central part on different side, then the whole system wedges out. That the thickness of the system, it decreases on all sides, okay? So what I said, that if I make a cross section this and a cross section this, and this cross section is AB and this cross section is CD. So what I said, that AB cross section, that will be convex, and CD cross section will be concave arc. This is a CD cross section. Why? Because the maximum thickness of the deposit is in the central part. So if I make a cross section like this, so you have the maximum thickness here, and on both side A and B, it is wedging out. But if I take this section, then all along this the maximum thickness, because where the river system first divulges its sediment, that even within the central part, the highest thickness is near to the slope failure, where the maximum slope becomes the slope failure, and as you go away from it, the thickness decreases. So you have the highest thickness here and the lesser thickness here. So this becomes the concave. So this is how the convex and concave are described. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we start the practical now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So today, am I visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today our topic is actually the paleocurrent, and I have sent the exercise also. You can open the exercise. Aditi is online.
Yes, sir.
So you will be describing, or I will be describing? Who will describe?
Sir, I can also do it, or else you can explain. Both will be fine, sir.
अच्छा, तुम स्टार्ट करो, तो फिर मैं बीच बीच में आ जाऊंगा. सो फर्स्ट यू डिस्क्राइब हाउ दे विल डू इट. So first problem, there are 2 or 3 problems given, na? In the-
Yes.
So you first describe them with the first problem, that how they will be, and the graph paper is students. People have graph paper with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So graph paper may try to make the rows of the first problem, the first issue that Aditi will be describing, that how to do it, and then any problem I will come. I am online.
Okay, sir. Okay. So first, I think we should understand what is the paleocurrent analysis. Okay. In paleocurrent analysis, we actually measure the current direction or flowing direction in the past. Like if we study a rock record, so what was the flowing direction at that time that we measure in the paleocurrent analysis. So to get this direction, we need to have some data that we generally get from some specific kind of sedimentary structures that actually gives you the paleocurrent direction. For example, if you take the cross bedding, or else if you get the asymmetrical ripples or flute structure, these kind of sedimentary structures give you the flow direction. In the field, we usually go and get the measure the dip direction that actually help in plotting the paleo rose diagram, or there is a mathematical method also. There's a formula in which you can put the values and you can get the mean direction there. Okay, so first exercise that you
Aditi,
So-
this thing in theory already discussed with them, and how to determine the mean and the ये सब discuss हो गया है इन लोगों के साथ.
okay, so they know the formula, sir.
They know the formulas. They know the
Okay, okay, fine, sir. So the exercise you are given is in the first problem you are given a data set with a lot of this azimuth. Okay, so what you need to do is there are 3 different methods to get this paleocurrent analysis done. First is the mathematical method, in which you have some formulas and you need to put your values there, you will get the answer. Another one is the graphical method, in which you take a graph sheet and you plot your data, and from there you measure the angle. I will explain that later. Okay, third method is using the rose diagram. There you plot your data and you get the mean direction. Okay, so I'll start with the mathematical method. As you know the formulas, what you need to do is you just draw a table. You have this azimuth is given, like 25 degree, 28 degree, 36 degree, 42 degree, and 38 degree, and so on. Okay, so what you need to do, just draw a table with 3 columns. Okay, in first column you will be writing the azimuth given to you. In the second column you calculate the sine of the given values, like sine, for example, if you consider azimuth as theta, in the next second column you calculate the sine theta. Okay, so you are given a value of this 25 degree. Okay, so in second column you calculate the sine theta, means sine 25 degree. In the third column, similarly, you calculate the cos theta, cosine values of the given azimuth, you calculate the cos theta. Okay, so like this you calculate the sine theta and cos theta for every azimuth that is given to you. Later in the end, what you will do, sum up all the sine theta values that are given at the end of the column of sine theta and add all the cos theta values. Okay, then your formula for the vector mean is that you use is tan theta equals to summation of sine theta divided by summation of cos theta. Do I need to show that again, or you people have that formula with you?
We have it, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So you just need to sum all the values, all sine theta values, sum all the cos theta values, and then put it in the formula. You'll get the value for tan theta. Okay. Then you need to find out the vector mean. What will you do? You find the value of that. That will be the tangent value. So your mean will be theta equals to tan inverse sine theta divided by cos theta. That's how you will calculate it using the mathematical method. This will be a mean value. Okay. So after that, you need to calculate the vector magnitude that actually defines the deviation of the data that you have collected from the field. How much diverse it is, or how much linear it is. For that, you need to calculate the vector magnitude. For that, there is also a formula given. I hope that you all have that formula. You just need to put the values there and you'll get the vector magnitude from that.
The vector magnitude is
Okay.
nothing by root over of
so-
n sine theta square plus n cos
Yes,
theta
sir.
square.
And cos it is there. Yes. sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we not need to first divide our data into class intervals and then
That is different. That she will come afterwards. So that it is one procedure she is discussing. She will come to that after.
so sir, then as you said in the magnitude of vector mein root over summation of n1 sin theta 1 whole square. So in that formula n1 की value फिर हम क्या रखेंगे?
नहीं साइन थीटा यहाँ n1 नहीं, यहाँ तो तुम all values you have done the sin theta ना. So the total जो sin theta value आएगा उसका स्क्वायर करोगे.
Okay sir, okay. ठीक है.
Yes,
Okay,
Aditi, you carry on.
Okay, sir. So in the second method, there is a graphical method. You all have the graph sheets with you. Okay. What you need to do is, I think I should show it. That will be easier.
मैं एक बार बोल देता हूँ फिर तुम शो करना. वो जो
okay,
वेक्टर मेथड कह रहे हो ना, जो वेक्टर मेथड जो
Yes, sir. So graph sheet पे वो
वेक्टर प्लॉट करेगा, वेक्टर
like
प्लॉट.
in respect to the north, you need to plot. Yes.
या
yes.
इन रेस्पेक्ट टू नॉर्थ वो वेक्टर प्लॉट करेगा.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what she is saying
Sir,
that हाँ बोलो.
no, sir. You continue, sir.
What she is actually saying, this is a vector determination by the graphical method. Okay, so if I consider the top of the graph sheet as north, top of the graph sheet at north, and then with respect to north, suppose the first data is your 25 degree, then the next data is 35 degree, whatever be, I am not sure. So what you will do, the each data you will consider that I am suppose 1 centimeter is my vector. Okay. So you start with a origin point, any origin point, you plot the 25 degree vector and 1 centimeter with an arrow in front of it. And then at that point, once you reach, then the next data, that data you plot. Like that you go on plotting, and then the final data and the first data, the whole thing will be shown by Aditi. When you join that, that becomes the vector name. Have you got it?
Yes,
No.
sir.
Yeah. So I start with the first one, and where it ends, there I plot the second one, then the third one. So it will make a zigzag path. But all the data plot, that is with respect to the north. Aditi, please you
Yes.
come in.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
You have something to show it to them.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll plot it here and they can see. I'll present it. Okay. I will plot two,
Okay.
three values and they can get some idea from that.
हाँ, just 2-3 plot करके दिखा दो.
Yes, sir. Okay, so you have a graph sheet like probably that will look like this. Okay, what you need, is it visible to everyone? There is a paper and a scale.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, visible.
Okay. So you, what you need to do is just draw this y-axis a vertical. ठीक है? A vertical axis, when you will draw a vertical axis, just a second. Yeah. So you draw y-axis, okay, and then you draw this x-axis. Okay, this will give you just a frame to draw your data. So first data that you have, you consider this point as your reference point. Okay, from here you will start doing the thing. First value that you have is 25%. Okay, I will consider this side as north. ठीक है? You have the data with respect to north. For example, first value you have is 25 degree. So that is 25 degree from north. So now what you need to do is make a angle. You consider one vector, as sir has already explained, that you need to consider 1 centimeter as a one vector. Okay, so for one value, for each value we will plot a vector. Okay, for 25 degree we plot a vector, for next value we plot second vector. So what we will do, we will take an angle of 25 degree from north. So that will be here. Okay, so what you will do, you will draw 1 centimeter line from here. You will get the next point, next reference point you will get after once you plot the 1 centimeter line, you will get the next reference point here. Okay, so now what you will do, you will make this as a reference point, and what you will consider this point and this line as a reference line. Okay, you have a graph paper, so it will be easier for you to draw it like this. If I draw a reference line here, okay, so you get this as you get this your reference point here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so this will be your next reference point. Okay, next value you have is 28 degree. Okay, so again you need to plot it with respect, this will be your north. Again you need to plot it with respect to north. Okay, so it will be your calculate the values. Okay, all these values are given from the north, you plot it accordingly. So this will be your next value, this will be your next line, that next vector that you will be plotting. Okay, so now this will be your next reference point. Again you will plot a reference line, okay, from this point, a vertical line, and then you will plot the next vector, whatever value is given, you plot it with respect.
Now I think they can do it now.
Yes sir, and so on, like they can go like this.
And like that you will be plotting all the points, all the points. And
Yes,
finally what you will be doing, where from you have start plotting it, it will be joined to the last point what you will get.
yes sir, yeah, definitely. For example, if you will you will get a zigzag pattern. Okay, like this and this, it will go like this. You will get the last point, for example, somewhere here. So what you need to do is you take your first reference point and the last point. Okay, join these 2 points like this, you will get an angle here. Okay, this angle will be your vector mean. Okay, theta. Okay, and you will get this value, that from first point to the last point, the length of this line will be your vector magnitude. Okay, so this is how you will
so I think
calculate from,
I think Aditi, you have now discussed 2 different methods. Let them all do
sir.
the first and the second, and then we'll discuss the third method.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Fine.
Is it okay with everybody what she has nicely explained?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you do first the tabular form and the graphical form, and then you do first these 2. Then we'll come to the next. Aditi,
Yes, sir.
Shahrukh has sent mail.
Yes, sir. He messaged me, but he didn't send me actually, so I have no idea what has he done. This.
वो छोड़ दो क्या किया वो मैं देख लूंगा।
Okay. सर उसने मुझे मेल नहीं किया तो पता नहीं इस
नहीं
बार
तुमको नहीं किया मेरे तो किया है और मैं चेक कर रहा हूँ।
ओके ओके
ठीक।
पर
हाँ,
कुछ ठीक
अमित ने हाँ कुछ हद तक तो किया मैंने आई थिंक जो कंडीशन व्हाट यू टोल्ड मी एंड उससे तो बेटर है।
ओके ओके
बट देयर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स एनीवे आई एम नॉट सेम टेबल 2-3 बार दे दिया ये सब।
यस
तो अच्छा ये अमित ने ठीक करके भेज दिया।
यस सर मतलब वो काफी हद तक अमित ने ठीक कर लिया था तो आई थिंक दैट कैन बी फाइनलाइज्ड नाउ।
ना मैं कह रहा हूँ अमित ने वो अपना वो रिव्यू को ठीक करके भेज दिया।
अच्छा अच्छा यस सर हाँ
और ये सोनम से बात हुई?
सर हाँ शी इज नॉट वेल एक्चुअली तो सर उसको रेफरेंसिंग में कुछ ऑर्डर में प्रॉब्लम था मतलब फाइनल करेक्शन करना था तो वो शी इज सेइंग दैट मोस्ट प्रोबेबली बाय टुडे इवनिंग शी विल बी सेंडिंग इट।
क्या हुआ कोरोना तो नहीं हुआ है?
सर आई डोंट नो सर अभी मतलब कल तक शी वाज फाइन आज आई डोंट नो व्हाट हैज हैपेंड तो यस एंड सर सत्यम ने भेजा अभी सर सत्यम ने अभी मेल किया है लाइक फ्यू मिनट्स बैक आई गॉट
ओके देख लो तुम एक बार देख लो।
यस
कल एक्चुअली फैकल्टी मीटिंग है रिगार्डिंग दिस एमएससी डिसर्टेशन ये कैसे क्या किया जाएगा क्या होगा देखते हैं क्या होता है।
Okay. For their Viva also they were.
भाईवा हाँ एग्जैक्टली
Yes, yes.
कैसे सबमिट करेगा भाईवा कैसे होगा ये सब कल डिसाइड होगा।
Yes.
Pritam is online.
Yes, sir.
Oh, अच्छा प्रीतम भी ऑनलाइन। इस बार 5 डिसर्टेशन है ना? 5 है।
Yes sir 5 है।
बहुत मुश्किल। फिर ये पता नहीं ये लोग तो 44 कह रहा है इन लोगों का।
सर हाँ सर
सर इस बार स्ट्रेंथ 44 कैसे हो 30
अरे
strength
वो
होता है।
सब ईडब्ल्यूएस में सब बढ़ गया ना 5% करके।
वो स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ गया है इस बार।
हाँ 5% नहीं हाँ 5% बढ़ गया ना 5% in 2 years it become 10% increase